Hi everyone, N.A.T here, and today I want to show you how I make my kicks, my kick drums. So, why would you want to make your own kick drums? Well, it's simple. First of all, making kicks, it's fun. And second, the more you make your own sounds and the more you will have your own style, in my opinion, the more unique you get the sound, the more your style, basically. So let's dive in Ableton and I will show you how I make the kicks, but there I will tell you a couple notes that are important as well to make good sounding kicks, in my opinion. Also, um, one note is that actually I am not at the level where I can make kicks, good kicks right away. I can nail it every time. It's actually more of a hit and miss kind of process usually, and it takes a lot of time. And I'm not even sure if for professional it's the same, and maybe it is, but the way they show it on YouTube, how they make their drums, their samples. It, in my opinion, they do a lot of processing, much more than what they do, of what they show you. So the foundation of how I make a kick, it's simply I make the low part and the high part separately, and then combine them together using filters or volume fade in audio. Okay, so let me show you, but I will also tell you a couple of things that are important, so pay attention. So I like to use operator, but I also make kicks with anything. I can also use Silent One, for example. I like to use the synth as well, or any synth. But let's use operator, and let's call this low, okay? And let's start from a sine wave here, and let's draw a note. One note here, let's loop this part. Oops, this part, okay. And let's play it. Okay, now we have a sine wave playing, but we need to make it lower. So I use fixed frequency here, and I go to around 50 hertz, and that makes for the foundation of the kick. You probably won't hear this if you're not using headphones. Then I use a pitch envelope. So I engage the pitch envelope and I put the peak all the way up and the decay around 100 milliseconds, and it sounds like this. Okay. Then I'll show you the exact details of how I adjust all these parameters later, but let's just quickly get like the general idea. Okay, so I will adjust like the amp envelope here, like this. So give it a little bit of a fade in, and then create the transient, the top part of the kick. Let's call this top. Okay. And what I do here is I just use sine waves and make them really short in time. So I start from the sine wave, I put the sustain down and the decay around 20 milliseconds. And I just start using FM, basically. I FM the sine wave. So let's do this. This is already sounding kinda cool. Okay, so this is kind of the foundation. Then here here, now I will give you the important notes, I believe, that I use to make at least, good enough kicks for me to use, for example, in my tracks, like here, if you go listen to SoundCloud, here from Blackout and here, I used, these are all kicks I created myself. Okay, so let's listen. Okay, so first important note is that I actually use a reference from a professional sample when I make kicks. Just like you use reference tracks like this, okay, when mixing and mastering your music. In the same way, I use like this, for example, a sample from Vengeance. This is my favorite kick, is the kick I used here in the song Focus back in 2020. But yeah, what I do is I drag and drop I drag and drop it here, mute it, and do like a solo like this. Okay, and I also use tools like Shaperbox 3, not only to reference the kick, but also to kind of shape it, So if you use, if you open up an oscilloscope basically, and you set it to a 1/4 note, you can see the kick exactly, how it looks exactly, okay? You can also zoom in the transient if you want. So this is the kick we just made. And if we reference with this kick from Vengeance, we can kind of see if our kick has the same density here, which almost, yes, it is the same density. And by density, I mean the pitch envelope. If the pitch envelope is going down at the right speed, and I will show you this in a second. So I use oscilloscope to reference. I also use span or any other, or even the Ableton's spectrum, to kind of see how the spectrum balance is here. We can already see our kicks has less presence in the highs, which is important to know. Okay, now another important note is one thing that helps me to do kicks in the right way is two things: paying attention to the pitch envelope of the sub, so here, of the low part, and paying attention to the high part of the kick, that it doesn't sound too piercing. Okay, so in the low part, I pay attention to the pitch envelope because there is a sweet spot, in my opinion, to where it sounds good, and it's around 100 hertz. If you go too crazy, like this, 250, it sounds more like a zap than a kick. Okay, and you can also, I actually always have this open so I can always watch my kick. And now if we reference to our Vengeance sample, by the way, as you can See, as you can see, this sample has a little bit of a stereo, so let me mono it. Let me use just the left channel. So now you can see when I A and B between my kick and the reference kick, that my kick has too much decay. Okay? So let's go back to 100. And now it's much better. Sometimes I also do this on the reference sample just to see even better the pitch envelope of the reference sample. I use a low pass filter around, like, if I mute the top of my kick and just look at my low, and I open like a spectrum here, I can see kind of, you know, it looks like there's a low pass filter around here, around 700 hertz. So I can put the same filter on the reference sample around 700 hertz, like this, make it steeper, and A and B. Now they sound very similar, and I can also see better how the pitch envelope decays. So we can see let me freeze it. One second. Okay, so I duplicated the oscilloscope and froze froze my kick and the reference kick. And as you can see, if we put them, if we put them together like this, okay, kind of, whatever, you can see that you can see the density, where the density is of the pitch envelope, and you can see the density of my kick is kind of more here at the beginning, while the reference kick is more like a slightly slower, perhaps, or even it has a lower peak in the envelope. Okay, so, and I don't pay attention, like, I pay attention to these kind of things to kind of get like a guideline, you know, idea, but not necessarily to copy the kick exactly. That doesn't need to. And also, if you see my kick, it's completely like a line, a perfect line, while the reference kick is like a fish shape. This is because of EQing that they done after, and I also will do after. Or you can also volume shape it if you want the kick to look exactly like that from the start. For example, I could use, if I wanted to make some experiments, I could do this, use a volume shaper here, and shape it, you know. And now my kick has more of a fish shape, as you can see. Okay. So going back to the pitch envelope, again, the important thing is if you go too long, it will sound like a zap. This is clearly too much. But if you go too short, like 20, it will just sound like a sub with a click without any punch, you know? And you can also experiment with using also this part of the envelope. Like this, for example. Let's see how this looks. Looks kind of cool, actually. I can keep this. I can duplicate it. Can keep. Let me actually copy this and go back. Okay, and let me paste this low part so we have two variations if you want to use one or the other. And so, you know, if you go too short, won't have any punch. If you go too long, you will have too much of that sound, which doesn't sound that good. Then for the top part, the important thing is to not make this too long, in my opinion, because you will get this. Okay, and yeah, to pay attention really when I'm using FM here, to set it right so it sounds right to the ear and not ear piercing. This, for example, sounds kind of strange. Not ear piercing, but strange. This sounds better. But let me go very high. And now it has a piercing high frequency. Maybe we can see this with Pro Q4. Let me open it. As you can see, there's some piercing high frequencies here. Okay. Okay. Let me go back. Also, this is too high. Let's go back to 1. Now it has an attack. Okay, we can try and make it a little longer. But also now you can hear that this is not good, you know, sounding. Or maybe with some EQing we could fix this. Let's try again. As I told you, it's a matter of really taking your time and trying and trying and trying, while always remembering that the low part needs to have the right type of pitch envelope. At the high, you have to pay attention that it's not too piercing. So in this case, I could try to see if that longer transient can work by using a low pass and by trying to EQ out some of those piercing frequencies. Let me try to do this real quick. Okay, something like that. But let's go back. Let's go back to where we were before. Let me actually save this as it is. So let me actually save this top kick as another version again. And let me go back to where we were, to when this was shorter. Command Z, Command Z. I'm hitting Command Z, Command Z, Command Z. Come on. Let's just pump it. So I used undo history to go back. Thanks Ableton for this new feature. It's really cool. So here, and we have our first version of the kick. But I actually copied the second top kick, kind of longer, so we could kind of try like this. Which one do you prefer? Tell me. All right, I'll stay with this one. Another important note is to also reference in headphones, because you will notice that the transient especially will sound a lot different when you reference, for example, your reference kick in headphones versus monitors. So let's do that. This is through monitors. Oh, sorry, it's still low pass. And now through headphones. And now my kick through monitors and through headphones. Let me disable calibration though. And let me A and B between the reference kick and my kick in headphones. So my kick has the presence, but I hear this kick has a lot of distortion. So we can add that later. And by the way, another thing you can do to the tops, these frequencies, when you're combining the low and the high, is also play around with the phase. It can make for very interesting results. Let's try this right now. Let me use monitors because it makes much more of a difference in monitors than it does in headphones. I like it at 50. Sounds cool. And then you can really go like to every single value. I really do that. I really do that. I really try every single value. I'm telling you, this takes time, and to me it's really fun, honestly. So let me try 50. And let me try that in headphones as well. 50 versus 0%. I'll stay with 50, but as I told you, it sounds very different in headphones versus monitors. And in headphones, the difference was very slight, but in monitors, the difference is much bigger. Okay, now another note that I will share with you that it's important, in my opinion, for me at least, is to use calibration, actually. And the reason is this: as you can see here now, calibration is disabled. And you can see this is kind of the imprint of my room. Okay, this is kind of how the frequencies respond in my room. A perfect response will be linear, you know, but actually you see here I lack a lot of subs, and here I have a huge bump. And especially when making drums, when making kicks, where you need to tweak the punch in this section here, in this region, it's very difficult to do when you have this kind of listening environment. Okay, so you can fix that by using headphones, because the sound will go directly in your ears without getting colored by your room. But I also use calibration, which fixes this problem. And yeah, you won't hear it, by the way, because I routed the audio so you don't hear the calibration, which will make it sound weird for you. But that's another important thing. And another important thing as well is to not stress too much about the kicks. I don't stress too much about them. Like now I made this, and I'm not done. I would actually add some I will try actually to add some, let's say, OTT to kind of see how it sounds. Sounds, of course, horrible like this. Wait a second. Okay. Then I will do some other stuff. I will record reverb from that. I will resample it and recombine it. But then, you know, what I get is, for example, if you look at my packs here of kicks, I do these kicks, I get these results. This one is super strange. It's too long of a pitch envelope, but it was an experiment. This one sounds cool, has a really cool transient. So there are kicks that are cool, other kicks are kind of weird, like this. Has an unusable transient, maybe. This is cooler. This is cool as well. I did it with silent, but yeah, the thing is that these kicks, I don't make them sound perfect right away, because then when I put them in the song, then I will fix them to make them sound good in the song. Okay. So when I'm done with my kick, let's kind of finish this kick. For example, what I will do is this. I would open another channel here, another audio channel, call it export. Okay, it's set to resampling and it sends the audio to the master channel. Okay, so I will actually use this resampling to kind of, or rather this export. Well, let's use resampling to resample my kicks. I would quantize this to 1/4. Okay, like this. I use a keyboard shortcut, 1/4, and just hit play and record one kick. Okay, so now we have our kick, and I would copy and paste it here. Okay. And now here, oh, sorry. Let's paste it here. And now I can kind of, I can also use this function to see it better. Okay. And then I can like shorten it, or I can sometimes, I like to play around with other kicks. For example, here I said this kick had a good transient. This one, or this one as well. So I can put them here. I can use another channel. Let me disable this thing. Okay. Let me actually consolidate this kick so it looks bigger and we can see better what's happening. Okay. And so I can just sometimes play around. I sometimes just play around with the transient to see how it sounds. And maybe I will loop the kick. Now I will disable the limiter in OBS so you can, so you don't hear everything distorted, because these kicks are now normalized to 0 dB. And with Command Z, or actually I do this, and with Command Z, Command Shift Z, I can A and B between the two kicks. Yeah, so I don't know, maybe this sounds better. So I will keep this, I will copy and paste this on my export channel here. Okay. And I will also use this as, and I will also copy the first version here in the export channel. Okay. And I will, as I work on my kicks, I will just put them all here, all my results here. And when I'm done, I will just I will just solo this export channel, Command Shift R to export it, make it normalized, or sometimes I would even like use a FabFilter Pro L to make them louder. Let's try to do that now, just to see if we can get a little more loudness, which is always useful. Without distorting. And without going too crazy as well. Let's actually go full screen, which is cool. So let's just use 1 dB of gain, and I also like to use oversampling to use this this setting. I can use it because now I have a very powerful computer, and it makes it sound always much better. So I will do this and just select this kick and hit export and go to my packs, kicks here, and export. First of all, though, I will also save this project in my sound design folder, call it with today's date, 02/08/25, kick, and click save. And then I will save this sample as in my samples. So here in kicks as kick A. Come on, okay. And this as kick B. And then I will have my kicks here. Let's order them by date modified. And there it is, as you can see. Kick A and kick B. Let me engage the limiter of OBS so you can hear better. Kick A and kick B. And you can also see them here in this low section here. You can also see them, which is nice. Okay. Another thing sometimes I like to try is to, if we go back to our kick, is to try to distort the higher part of the kick, or maybe to just saturate it. For example, if I use a Saturn 2, okay, and if we go full screen again, which is cool, we can kind of, you see, create this band, use linear phase and high quality, superb quality, and kind of saturate the high part. Maybe with some other type of distortion, saturation. Not getting the right results now. I don't know, but something like that. Okay, so that was kind of it. Then, you know, it's about kind of modifying it and taking your time. But then I use these kicks usually right away. I like to try them in a track. So for example, that's what I did here with this track. For example, I made this kick, which sounded like this. Created drums that sound like this. Oh, sorry, it was distorted. Let me play that again. So as you can see, this snare kind of shift. It's this sound here basically. If I mute it, it sounds like a normal snare. But here I made this kind of, which is just a note that happens before, kind of random. I will show you this in another video when I will show you how I make my snares. And then I put some sounds like this. Again, silent one. It only has 2 voices, so only 2 notes overlap and create this kind of cool distortion. And then kind of the same sound to make the bass. Sorry, you didn't hear it. Here it is. And now together. Alright, so that was how I make kicks. And if you have any questions, let me know, any curiosity, any tip for me, because I am still learning, absolutely still learning. And if you want to listen to my music and kind of give me an opinion of what you think about my music, you can go listen to Spotify. I have my music here on Spotify. I have my music here on Apple Music, on every streaming service. And also I am putting my work in progress tracks here on SoundCloud, so you can tell me what you think about them. And these are the tracks I am working on here on YouTube. All right, so thank you for watching and see you next time.